Hey, what's up, everybody? I recently got back from Orlando to watch Twice for their day one concert in Orlando, and honestly, it was amazing. I love watching Twice live. They're such good performers, and Twice was actually the K-pop group that got me into K-pop concerts. They were literally my first K-pop concert experience, and life has just never been the same for me since then. I love going to concerts now. So one of the things that was different about this concert versus other concerts I've been to is that I bought my concert ticket the day of, like literally 6 hours before the concert started. So before I bought my ticket, I had to think about where did I want to be for this concert? Did I want to be in GA? Did I want to be in the 100s, the 200s? So I had to do a lot of research going on Reddit, reading posts, checking out people's vlogs of the concert and seeing where their perspective was, or just watching fan cams on YouTube and seeing where a person was and what their view was like. So I did a bunch of research and I have my own experience. So I wanted to put that all together in a video to help people decide where to sit or stand for Twice's This Is For concert. Now, where do I think you should stand or sit? So a few disclaimers before we go in this. These are just my thoughts. If you have a preferred seat, like let's just say you really wanted to do GA, or let's just say you really wanted to be in the 100s, basically facing the front or back of the stage, the best seat for you is going to be the one that you pick. Because honestly, all of the seats, in my opinion, have their own pros and cons for this concert. Another thing is that I've only been to one Twice concert this tour, and I stood in GA. So all my personal experiences are only going to be from the perspective of someone who stood in GA. A lot of the fan cams and concert videos online do not say where they were sitting. So when I was doing my research, when I was trying to figure out like which member is where during this song, where's the front of the stage, where's the back of the stage, a lot of these videos don't really say where they were sitting, and that made it a little difficult for me to determine where was like the front of the stage or the back of the stage, which one was like the side stage left or the side stage right. So that part was a little difficult, and because it was kind of difficult and I've only been to one concert date, some of the information might not be right. So just a heads up there. And because it might not be right, if any of the information is different than what you've seen or what you've experienced at your own Twice concert, please leave a comment below so that way we can help fellow onces get the best possible information when it comes to figuring out where they want to sit. So in my opinion, the best overall seat is going to be in the 100 level bowl facing the front or the back of the stage. And the reason I think these are the best overall seats is because when I go to a concert, one of the things I want to make sure I do is see the artist with my own eyes. Like that's what makes it a live concert, is that you are there watching them live. If I wanted to just see like a high-res video of Twice, then I would have just stayed at home and watched a video on YouTube. There's lots of people who have like 4K videos. There's lots of like actual concert DVDs that they sell. So there's different ways to watch the concert. But if you're going to a Twice concert, you want to be there in the moment. You want to experience this moment live. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to watch the artist with your own eyes. So these seats allow you to see Twice really, really clearly. In my opinion, seats are also oddly easier to enjoy a concert. So one of the things about a seat that I like versus the GA area is that when you have a seat, you have kind of like this invisible square where you can almost do whatever you want. Like let's just say you wanted to dance, or let's just say you wanted to hold up a sign, or let's just say you wanted to sit during the videos that play during the concert. You can do all of that within your little square. When it comes to GA, one of the issues I ran into is that if I ever wanted to dance, then I had to kind of bump left and right into the people that were next to me. So it became kind of a tight space in order for me to move freely. Also, another thing about the seats is that because they are like leveled, like on a slant, you generally don't have to worry about people holding up their cameras and blocking your view, or putting their light sticks up and blocking your view. So seats are good because they are slightly more elevated than GA, and because they are on that slant, you generally don't have to worry too much about the person in front of you versus standing in GA. Another thing about being in these two different areas is that for some of the concert, you're going to get an amazing front view. So for example, in What Is Love, they are either going to be facing one of these two sections. Always. I've never seen it where they face the left or the right side of the stadium. So it's a really good front view when they are facing in your direction. Another thing about this section is that you could still potentially get interactions because you are still sort of close to the front. Like, the chart makes it seem like the 100s are really far away from the stage, but they're actually pretty close. So let's just say you gave a heart, or if you wanted to give a wave, or if you had a sign, it's still pretty clear from these 100 level seats. All right, so what do I think is the best for viewing? This means literally just viewing the concert. So you don't have to worry about being super close or anything like that. I think the best seats for viewing are actually the 200s and the 300s. And the reason I think this is some of the best viewing is because when you're sitting in the 200s and 300s and you kind of get this like aerial view, you can see all the way on the opposite side. If you're sitting, let's say you're sitting in like somewhere in 209, even if they're by 117, you can see all the way over there. And then another thing about sitting in this section is that when they are not facing your direction and you still want to have kind of like a front view, you can just look up at the screen. One of the problems with GA and the 100 levels is that if you want to see the screen, based on how low you are to the ground, you might have to tilt your neck all the way up just to see the screen. From the 200s and the 300s, you can see the screen basically right in front of you. So let's just say they are on the opposite side of you. Whenever they're at a different part of the stage, there's usually a camera person who's getting a front view of that performance, and that front view is cast on the screens that are pretty easily viewable from the 200s and 300s, making it a lot easier to see a front view without having to struggle in any particular way. Also, the thing about the 200s and the 300s is that they tend to be more affordable, with the cheapest ticket I've seen being about $100, and then the most expensive ticket in the 100 section being about like $500. So a pretty big price difference. So if affordability and a good view is what you're aiming for, the 200s and 300s really aren't a bad place to sit. So for interactions, my general take on it is that you want to sit on the complete left or right side of the stage. In, like, for example, in this particular chart, I've got 116, 117, 118, and 105, 106, 107. Those are good places to sit for interactions because when they are on those side stages, they're generally not doing as much choreography as compared to the center stage. So on these side stages, when I was at the concert, there was a lot of waving going on. They were waving to the people in the GA pit that were facing that side stage, or in the people in the seated area that were in that 100 level area. So the side stages are a great place to get interactions because when Twice is spread out, like let's just say they had 2 members on one side stage, 2 members on another side stage, and everyone else in the middle stage, they generally didn't do a lot of choreography separate from each other. They were usually just waving to people in the audience. So I would say those side stages are really good places to get interactions. Another good place to get interactions is going to be the walkways in between the main stage and the side stage, because when they're walking on these walkways, they're just waving to people in the audience. I don't think I've seen one where they were doing choreography on the walkway, minus a few things here like the intro to Set Me Free. So the walkways are really good places to get interactions with Twice. When they were generally on the middle stage, they were generally dancing. They had the backup dancers. It was kind of like a full stage, and they were doing a lot of choreography. There wasn't really a lot of interactions on the center stage, in my personal opinion. So where is the best place for people who want to see their bias? What I will say about this is that I did not do extensive research figuring out who was where, for what song, for how much percent of the concert they were standing in a certain corner. I didn't do any of that. So choose at your own risk. Please, if you want to do this, watch videos online and kind of figure out where your personal bias is going to be at for most of the concert. What I will say is that there are some general trends. So I pulled up a similar image from Reddit and I made my own on the right there. So for the solo stages, that's generally where they have been historically. So the light blue circle is Nayeon, the lime green circle is Jungyeon, the pink circle is Momo, the purple circle is Sana, the orange circle is Jihyo, the mint green circle is Mina, the white circle is Dahyun, the red circle is Chaeyoung, and then the dark blue circle is Tsui. So one thing I will say about that solo stage picture is that for Dahyun's circle, the reason there's a question mark there is because I didn't personally experience Dahyun being at my own concert, and all of the videos that I've seen online were so zoomed in that I couldn't exactly tell where she was for her solo stage. So that's more of a guess based on what I've seen online. Even though Chaeyoung was not at my concert, from all the videos I've seen, it was in the center stage. So Dahyun's kind of a guess, but Chaeyoung and everyone else should be sort of where they are in that picture. So again, if you want to see your personal bias, check out videos online, see where they're at, try to figure out where a person is sitting, because these are just general pictures. Another thing is that for me personally, one of my favorite songs from Twice, actually my favorite song from Twice, is What Is Love? And that chart, as far as I know, that picture, as far as I know, from all the videos I've seen, is correct for the placement of the members. If that's not right, if you've seen something else, let me know in the comments below. But for What Is Love, that is generally where they have been. Now, for my experience in GA Pit 2, which is like the small GA pit left of the back, I generally got a lot of Mina, I got a lot of Jihyo, I got a decent amount of Sana, but I didn't really see a lot of Jungyeon, I didn't see a lot of Nayeon, I didn't see a lot of Momo. So that's just my experience in GA Pit 2, which is like the small GA pit. Alright, so let's say you bought GA. There are no seats, it's kind of a free-for-all. So where do I think you should stand if you're in GA? So for general viewing, let's just say you really wanted a decent view throughout the entire concert, you're going to want to stay towards the middle of the GA pit, if not far away from the middle of the GA pit. And the reason for that is because the closer you are to the actual stage, the stage is taller than most people's heights, meaning that you'll be looking up. And from my experience in GA, the stage was actually pretty tall. Like there were certain times I was staring at the platform itself and not actually able to see Twice. Or sometimes there was a fan that was getting in the way. Or sometimes the confetti cannon got in the middle of my view. So standing in the middle or kind of separated from the middle is a good place for just general viewing of the concert. For top tier viewing sometimes and horrible viewing other times, you're going to want to stand in barricade that basically touches the stage. And the reason that it is top viewing sometimes is because you literally cannot get any closer. It is impossible to get any closer and getting a full view of Twice with your own eyes. So it is top tier viewing sometimes. And then it's horrible viewing other times because of things like the stage height or things like fans. Like, for example, where I stood, it was almost impossible to see the side stage that was across from the main stage. So top tier viewing sometimes, and then the other times potentially horrible viewing. Now, if you're looking for interactions, just like I said in one of the previous slides, the walkways and the side stages are going to be your best bet. So where did I stand? I stood right at that corner there of the small GA pit because I still wanted to see center stage. I wanted to have a really good view. And for the rest of the tour, my concert tickets are generally like seated area. So I wanted to try GA and get as close to barricade as possible. One thing that I thought was kind of interesting about my spot is that I just did standard GA. I didn't even do VIP or anything like that. And I still ended up like second row barricade. So it's a pretty big GA area. And just know that you are not locked to the 2 blue squares that show up when you buy tickets. You can literally go around the entire stage. So that red outline is not just me saying like where the top tier viewing is sometimes and horrible viewing is sometimes. It's where you can actually stand. You can literally stand around the entire barricade of the stage. So just keep that in mind that you're not locked to those 2 blue squares that they show you on the ticketing website. So this was my view from GA Pit 2, which again in my concert was the small GA pit. And as you can see, I had some pretty top tier viewing sometimes, very close up images of Twice. This is, I believe, with 10x zoom on my camera, but the picture quality is top tier and my view for some of the concert was top tier. And then other parts were kind of a struggle. So for Tsui's solo stage, they were all the way on the opposite side, and it was kind of hard to see because sometimes like the person in front of me would put their hands up, they'd put their light stick up, or sometimes Tsui would be behind like the stage, like I couldn't even see behind the platform or like a fan or something. So sometimes the view was really bad from my GA standing. And then other times for What Is Love, like I was saying, Mina was at my side of the stage and I was really excited and really hyped. And like as I was watching my concert videos, I was like, oh geez, this fan is just in the way. So the view is sometimes top tier. And then sometimes the view can be pretty bad. So keep that in mind if you plan on doing GA Pit. So some things to note about sitting and standing at the This Is For concert and when you're picking your tickets. These are just my opinions. Again, sit wherever it's best for you. If you really want to sit in the 100 levels on the side stages, get those interactions, that's totally cool. If you want to sit in the 200s because that's within your budget so that you can still get merch and everything like that, that's still cool. Wherever you sit is going to be great because as a 360 stage, no matter where you sit, you will never have the best seat. Sometimes they're going to be facing you, and sometimes they're going to be facing away from you. Sometimes they're going to be all the way on the other side, and you won't be able to see the screen, and then sometimes they're going to be literally like 2 feet in front of you. So no matter where you sit, there never is a best seat, but they're all good seats. Another thing is that if you have tickets, don't go through all the trouble of reselling them and buying another ticket. Again, all the seats are good. The 360 stage is honestly an amazing concept for the concert because it allows everyone to get a little bit of like really high hypes. And then even if they're not like 2 feet in front of you, you can still see the screen. It's still exciting to be there. So don't go through all the trouble of being like, I just watched this video and like they said these were the best seats, so I got to sell my seats. No. The concert is great no matter where you're sitting, I promise. All right, another thing when you are buying tickets, and this is what threw me off a lot because as I was going through like different concert videos and stuff like that and different like viewings of seats that were still available, GA Pit 1 and GA Pit 2 can be different for each stop. So GA Pit 1 is the larger GA pit that generally touches the front of the stage. And GA Pit 2 touches the back of the stage and is the smaller GA pit. So as you can see from some of my previous slides here, there's a big GA pit and there's a small GA pit. And then if we go to a different slide, it's flipped. So sometimes GA Pit 1 and GA Pit 2 are flipped, and you're gonna have to decide which one is the front and which one is the back. But generally, from my experience, GA Pit 1 touches the front and GA Pit 2 touches the back of the stage. So just keep that in mind when you're buying your tickets. Again, if you have a different experience, please let everyone know in the comments below because I've only been to one Twice concert this tour. One other thing that I want to note is if you want the best view through your camera, please know how your phone camera works best for photos and videos. So a few things I want to call out. Number one, if you want to change your settings, you can change the frame rate and you can change the resolution. So for example, this is a picture of my phone screen when I record concerts. I have it in ultra high definition, 60 FPS. That is the best that my phone is able to offer. And I try to set it to the highest setting so that way I get the clearest video. Another thing that's not on the screen is generally when I'm at concerts, for some reason having the brightness all the way down to basically nothing is the best view. It might be because how the light shines off of the artist. It might be because how it's able to tell like the foreground and the background of the video, but generally having it on the lowest brightness setting has been the best for me personally. Another thing to note about zoom, and this is something I really want to drive home for people, is that based on your phone, you likely have different cameras that are set to do different zooms. So your best view is going to be using your preset zooms because your phone has designated cameras for those zooms. So for example, whenever I record a concert, I either record in 0.6 times 1 times 3 or times 10. I try not to zoom in and out from those because what you're doing at that point is you are zooming in on a preset and that just makes your vision blurry entirely. So try to stick to the presets for your phone's zoom. And that is the best advice I got for people who are trying to get good videos or good photos of the concert using your phone camera. But with all of that out of the way, the most important thing, have fun at the concert. Twice concerts are so much fun. The atmosphere is so much fun. Being in the presence of other onces or even people just getting into K-pop for the first time is just so much fun. So no matter where you sit, no matter when your tour date is, my big ask is please have fun at the concert because it is an amazing experience. With that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. Again, if you have any other different experiences or views on where to sit at the concert, please throw a comment down below and let everyone hear your opinion because everyone's opinion matters because everyone's view and experience is a little different. So once more, have fun at the concert, enjoy Twice, and that's all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take it easy.